In Grimm's fairy tale, A Sleeping Beauty, Briar Rose is put to sleep for 100 years. Vines and roses enclose her castle, and she is frozen in time. Life moves on, and dust collects. Many suitors try to get through, but cannot. Only by prophecy, 100 years later, she is awoken. The story pretty much ends here, but what I've always been interested in is the story post-fairy tale. What happens as she's learning to walk again, as she tries to remember what it is to be human? I think, when the soul awakens, memory bleeds through. I've always kept a diary in every letter written to me, and it seems everything I've learned about myself has come through my documentations. I am a chronicleizer of the heart, and the archives of my mind is where my story lies. I imagine my memories as such, like a museum of my life. I see myself walking through my own museum after a long slumber, a labyrinth of a place filled with spiraling staircases, endless hallways, and secret passageways that only I know. Somewhere to be found and somewhere to be lost. I watch myself, both enamored and fearful of my own metamorphosis, both the creator and the critic, Frankenstein and the monster. Some of the paintings, however, are beautiful and glorious creations. I'm trying to get myself to stop and stare at these more, and I figure if I stare at them for a very long time, I may be able to step inside and learn how to recreate them. Become an artist myself, and in that, exit knowing something very good about the world indeed. I've recently unearthed a collection of letters sent to me throughout my girlhood. I think, possibly, and like everything, there is a story here. This very first letter is from my grandmother, written to me in 2001. My dear little Romney, when I first saw you, I thought you looked like a little angel. You had such soft, sweet features and such a pretty, fair complexion. You are now 2 years old. You are the sweetest little girl. You are very feminine and reserved, yet you know how to stand up for yourself. Your name is very special to me because it is Grandma Bessie's middle name and the last name of her mother, my grandma. And your middle name is the name of several generations in your family tree. Your Aunt Lori's middle name was Ellen also. You are my precious doll, and I love you so much, enough to last forever. This next letter is a letter from my kindergarten teacher written to me in the summer of 2004. Dear Romney, your many acts of kindness have spoiled me terribly, and I loved it. And please forgive my delay in letting you know how much I love and appreciate the book you gave me for the class. The boys and girls have loved this sweet story, and I'm sure my next group of kindergarteners will too. And each time I read it, I will remember and tell my class about the sweet girl who gave this book to me. I will tell them that she always had a smile on her face, she was always kind and helpful, she didn't have a mean bone in her body, her mama called her Dolly, and she always wrote interesting stories. I hope you're having a fun summer, and I hope you're participating in the summer reading programs. Your wonderful reading skills could easily get you into the school's Reading Hall of Fame. Take care and keep in touch. Love, Miss Vogt. And lastly, another letter written to me from my other grandma a few years later in January of 2008. Dear Romney, I enjoyed reading the story you wrote and sent to me. The story was so fun and the pictures were very, very good. I read it to all your cousins, and it is our favorite Christmas story here for a few weeks. I have put it in my special papers, and when I die, someone will find it there. By then, I think you will be famous, and someone will want to sell it for $1 million because it will be your first book. Thank you for sharing your storytelling talents with me. I hope you keep practicing, and remember there are still lots of good stories to tell. I love you, and I'm so happy to be your grandmother. Love, Grandma Parrish. Through these letters, a portrait unfolds, phantoms of kindness and human correspondence immortalized through the simple posts and exchange of words. It's like magic. I'm looking through a foreign lens to see the glimpse of a girl who I was, and the girl I'm trying to get back to. She seems kind and sweet, and through the lens of the adults around her, they saw her as a smart girl who is creative and likes to tell stories. Growing up is simply the easiest way to get lost. Fast forward to an unusually vivid memory. I remember the first time I ever felt pretty. It was the summer before freshman year of high school. I was 13 going on 14, and we were in Philadelphia for a summer family vacation. This day in particular was a kismet of events. I had just cut my bangs and we had gone to dinner at a tavern-like restaurant. It certainly felt special. We rarely ever went out to eat growing up. I remember taking pictures of myself on my cousin's iPod Touch, and it was the first time I noticed I wasn't weird looking. I suppose it was then I felt I was not a kid anymore, and things started to change after that. I stopped reading for a few years, and I kept my storytelling hobby a secret within the pages of my diary. The worst part, men looked at me as if I was one of them, a woman or something strange in limbo traveling between worlds. But let's stay in Philadelphia for a moment longer. That night, we stayed in a quaint bed and breakfast in the heart of Philly. Us girls, my sister, my cousin, and I had our own room to share on the top floor. It was an attic-shaped room with one big king-size bed that we all shared, and outside our door led to a beautiful spiral staircase leading all the way down to the living room. Somehow, we didn't fight on this trip. We stayed up all night sharing secrets, ghost stories, crushes, hopes, and dreams. We were simply being girls together, and it is those moments I cherish the most, that I will choose to remember. Through all the many mistakes I made through my teenage years and early 20s, I think the biggest mistake of them all was allowing people to tell me who I was. I suppose there comes a time in every young girl's life when people start to think they can define you. Done growing, you are who you are now. The confusion lies here. I went from being the young, sweet girl who loves to read and tell stories to just being pretty and dumb. They told me I would have to marry rich in order to make my way in the world. I suppose it was true. I was struggling in school. I simply couldn't wrap my head around math. But they also told me all the time how shy I was, yet I felt an expression in my soul that I couldn't or was afraid to interpret into words. I think, in this confusion, I got lost and fell asleep in the woods like Briar Rose. I seemed to forget that I had the agency to decide who I am and who I will be. However, I'd like to share a beacon of light in this confusing time of my life. One more letter sent to me from Edinburgh by my older brother in December of 2014. Romney, the statue of Greyfriars Bobby brings luck to all who touch its nose. The dog is famous for sitting by its master's grave long after his master was dead. I hear there are 2 dogs in the house right now. Do you think you can replace me with a dog? I hope school is going well. I'm sure color guard is lots of fun. Keep studying from time to time as well. School can be hard, but the friends you make and the things you learn make it all so worth it. I've always considered you a very deep person. Seems you're always thinking about something, turning some thought around in your mind. Keep those fires lit. You are an intelligent young woman and able to believe anything you want. I'm glad you asked me that question about religion. Keep asking. Questions are beautiful. I miss you and look forward to being reunited. Love, Nathan. It is the greatest love to be seen. My older brother always saw me no matter what and still does to this day. And if I too could theoretically write something kind to my younger self, this is what I might say. You don't need to scream, but you do need to speak. Don't suppress your thought. Don't be little or meek. Your mind is a vast ocean, but when your tongue is tied, you will drown in the unexpressed emotion. Aurora, please wake. The sun is calling your grace. Vanity, a gift and a curse that waltz hand in hand. Fall in love times 3 and forget how to stand. Beware of his disguise and see this when you arise, that you may walk through your own garden like a blooming museum of life, and at the end there will be an arch of vines and roses that enclose on a marble statue of yourself. You will stop and stare at it and try so desperately to understand it because you will see that it is unfinished, and you will realize that in the unfinishment lies the untold story. And you will come to the conclusion that the marble sculpture will never be finished, and that in itself is what makes it so beautiful. Not the precision, not the symmetry, not the emerald eyes or the golden hair, but it is the cracks and the shadows and the journey the sculpture is on and the way it makes one stop and stare. And the best part, of course, is when you see that you are not frozen in time. Girlhood is everlasting, and you are ever changing, and you are on the other side. So wild and so free and so human, can't you see that you are the hands carving the marble, writing the story and deciding how big you can be?